Hey, welcome to this week's podcast edition 151 by What's New on the Net.com. This is your host Saurabh Gaswala bringing you the tech news of this week on this Sunday, December the 19th, 2021. A lot has happened this week, so let's go. Dominating almost the entire week was the news around the Log4j software security bug that has the entire world worried. I also suspect, like the COVID-19 virus, experts are still grappling with the ramifications of this code bug. Hackers such as professional crypto miners and those using DDoS botnets are delighted to have found this exploit. But before I get into the specifics, here's what Log4j is all about. Log4j is a logging system which allows software developers to track usage events, software interaction and user communication. Messages are written automatically to a log file. It was a developer, Seki Gulsu, who had authored the first version of the program for Apache logging services. This project is part of the Apache Software Foundation. It's open source code and widely used by software developers. Having said that, here's how it's manipulated. The bug allows any user, yes, just about anyone, to write an unfiltered string or text to the log file that sends a remote address. The address is then added to the system as an acceptable repository of code. Which means anyone can turn into a hacker and then can run almost any auto software on the system to eventually steal data, or almost do anything at will. It's that serious and that bad. The real question here is, how could this have happened in the first place? That this exploit was available for so many long years and escaped everyone's attention is absolutely inexcusable. And the thing is, as our reporter Amber Jones writes, millions of servers, if not billions across the globe, use this library. Companies such as Apple, Tesla, IBM, Microsoft, Steam, Twitter, Baidu, and Cloudflare are all affected. Millions of small and medium-sized businesses who use software by some of these companies could also be at risk. The next few weeks will clear the air on this one, but as one expert put it, Log4j flaw has the potential to break the internet. Shocking, and a sobering thought. Facebook's holding company Meta has launched 2 updates to its bug bounty and data bounty programs around data scraping. Starting as a private bounty track for the Gold Plus Hacker Plus researchers, the Bug Bounty program will now also award those who report about scraping methods, even if the data they target is public. Specifically, it wants people to find bugs that enable attackers to bypass scraping limitations set by the product developers. The company said the goal was to quickly identify and counter scenarios that might make scraping less costly for malicious actors to execute. Meta said this could perhaps be the first scraping bug bounty program in the industry. The data bounty program will also cover scraped datasets found online. Meta will reward reports of unprotected or openly public databases containing at least 100,000 unique Facebook user records with PE or sensitive data. Of course, the reported dataset must be unique and not previously known or reported to Meta. Meta will award rewards in both programs based on the maximum impact of each report, with a minimum reward of $500 per each scraping bug or datasets.
Here is a shout out to founders, co-founders, CEOs, CTOs and C-suite guys of tech unicorns, businesses and startups around the world. Come share your business story on our weekly podcast. CEO Speak is a new slot we have introduced in which the top management of tech companies can tell the rest of their community of their success, their struggles, and so on. Plus, as a bonus, the same will also be published on our website what'snewonthenet.com. Get your invite by writing into us at what'snewonthenet.com at gmail.com.
Before the announcement, I was on data breaches and so on. Continuing in that vein, a cybersecurity firm has just released its report of data breaches around the world in 2021. And guess what? the top 5 countries with the largest number of data breaches that accounted for over half of all breaches of 2021 were the US, Iran, India, Russia, and France. The report by Surfshark said like 2020, this year too the US had topped the data breach chart. While the US citizens were breached a total of 212.4 million times, which is a 22% increase compared to 2020, the numbers weren't surprising considering the number of data breaches that happened this past year, said Surfshark. However, the Middle East particularly stood out among the countries that grew the most data breach-wise. Now if you want to read this entire report, head over to our website what'snewonthenet.com. Attention gamers. Here's a new list of hot games of 2021. A record-breaking 8 mobile games including PUBG Mobile from Tencent, Honor of Kings from Tencent, and Genshin Impact from MiHoYo have generated more than $1 billion globally from the App Store and Google Play so far in 2021, according to Sensor Tower Store intelligence data. PUBG Mobile, localized as Game for Peace in China and Battlegrounds Mobile in India, and Honor of Kings rank as the number 1 and number 2 revenue-generating mobile titles worldwide this year, accumulating $2.8 billion each so far this year, up 9% and 14.7% year-over-year, respectively. Ranking at number 3 this year is Genshin Impact, which has stormed to $1.8 billion in revenue so far in 2021. Launched on September 28, 2020, publisher MiHoYo has continued to provide the game with a plethora of updates, regularly adding new islands, characters, and features to keep players engaged. And now to our weekly startups section. PocketTube is a macOS extension and is also available on Chrome and Safari. It basically allows users to manage their YouTube subscriptions. The extension facilitates the creation and management of groups within YouTube's interface. Grouping subscriptions or channels by type offers users an improved user experience while using YouTube. Users can label collections using pre-prepared options, or they can upload their own, which enables easy identification and smoother navigation. For instance, users can set up different groups for each of their interests and slot video channels that they subscribe to into categories such as music, DIY, sewing lessons, and so forth. The PocketTube extension has an inbuilt notification system, so when new videos are available in each category, the user will be notified accordingly. The extension also has a very useful filtering tool so that users can sort videos not only by content, but by criteria such as length and date. Additionally, the tool automatically identifies dead channels so that users can unsubscribe. There's also a facility on the extension to sort videos into those already watched and new content, which is very useful, and means that users will not see old material that they might not immediately realize they've seen. The tool is super simple to install and can be added to the browser in a few clicks. It fits seamlessly into the YouTube layout in browser. There's no downloading of an external app. Our second startup is all about podcasts and their covers. If you are into making podcasts, you will find some excellent podcast cover templates at podcastcover.info. You can quickly create your own podcast cover design with multiple options using these templates. For that matter, you can also create Instagram posts and YouTube thumbnails here. So head over to podcastcover.info.
A word of caution. Listeners are strongly advised to do their due diligence before buying or downloading any of the startups featured here. Startup profiles are only for information purposes, and this podcast does not vouch for any of their features.
And with that, we are at the end of this week's podcast. How was it? We try our best to cover all the important tech news of the week. News you can use, news that matters to you, and try and explain it in simple language. Now, I, Saurabh Gaswala, your host, take your leave. Until next Sunday, goodbye.